What is up, anglers? We're back for another California fishing news. It's 24th of October, 2019. A couple things before we start. This one's going to be a little bit shorter as we start repeating a lot of the same stuff every week, not big changes happening. Going to try to make them a little more succinct and shorter so they're quicker listens. And secondly, I'm also starting the FishLife Interview series. It's going to be just interviews where I interview fishermen, chefs, scientists, or anyone else I think's appropriate or wants to talk to me about fishing, the industry, the conservation, stuff like that. So I recorded the first one last weekend. It is now up. It is with Nicky Vu, who is a deckhand and bass angler. I met him on my trip on the Aztec this summer. It's about 40 minutes long. We talk about deckhanding, a trip he recently went on that as a fisherman, how you become a deckhand, some tips, bassin, a few other things we cover. So you can check that out. It's on the same podcast. You'll see it. It's the Fish Life #1 with Nicky Vu. So check that out and let me know what you think. Moving on to the fishing this week. The tuna fishing has been continuing on with the fleet. We used to look at the temp break, or the SST chart this week. Temperatures are actually up a little bit. It's from that really hot weather we've had the past couple of days in San Diego. It's 91 degrees today on Thursday. So temps are up a little bit, especially along in the shallow water along the beach. It's good news. The chloro mix of the really clean blue water down here below the border and some greener water here. But the greener water doesn't seem to be bothering the tuna much. The fleet actually the past couple of days has been fishing up here in U.S. waters pretty much, right along the border. If you look today, this is the border here. We got a couple boats just above it, and then out here about 40 miles offshore, it makes a cut down, and they call that the corner, right around the 43. There's some boats below in Mexican waters, and some boats, the majority of them are up in U.S. waters today. It's cool. The fish either push back north, or this is some of the fish that were more north moving south. Either way, it's cool. They're close to home. Good for the private boaters. You can go get them. There's still plenty of yellowfin being caught. San Diego had full limits yesterday, but a lot of the boats have been doing a lot better on the bluefin. It's been anywhere from 25 to mainly 75 pounds, and then some bigger ones as well. But the captains have called in some really, really good fishing for it lately. A lot of casualties, of course, because people are hooking it on 25 and 30 pound test. So if you're on a trip, listen to the crew, pay attention, and you got a good shot at catching some of these fish. I've seen photos from the boats. If you don't follow them, follow all the boats on Instagram. And these have been some really, really nice, big, plump bluefin being caught. So that's exciting, and it just bodes well for the future as we move into the fall. I'm hoping the fishing sticks around. I got a trip booked in late November. There's also been a bunch in U.S. waters. A half-day boat out of Newport fished them one day out of Davies Locker. They got 3 for 6 on them. Native Sun out of 22nd Street Landing is running 3/4 day trip. They're running one today, just a pure offshore trip fishing the bluefin that's up here between Catalina and the coast and up off North County. That's a good opportunity if you're someone that's never tuna fished, or you're on a budget, or you just can't make the drive down to San Diego. I think it's either $70 or $80 for the Native Sun 3/4 day. Really, it's a lot cheaper than anything else you're going to get to fish these offshore for these tuna. There's been a lot of bluefin showing up real close to shore, just a few miles off the past week or so. Also, Air Pellicula. If you don't follow Carl on Instagram, you got to check it out. It's one of the coolest accounts. He's a fish spotter for one of the swordfish boats, but he always posts, as he's looking, videos of bluefin feeding. And I'm going to read a quote from him this week. He said, "And they are in front of Avalon, below the border, but behind Clemente, west end of Catalina and Clemente, the lee of Clemente, Silver Canyon, Cortez Bank, Osborne Bank, 182, 43, etc. The bluefin are seriously everywhere across this entire zone, so you got a really good shot if you're out there to go looking. There's also some yellowtail and kelps, not huge numbers, but I have heard of some." The biggest news for tuna this week was that there's a 221-pound local yellowfin tuna weighed in at Avalon. This is crazy. Like, I know it's not the first one, but a couple years ago, a commercial guy was trolling from Marlin at Oceanside, and he got a 240-pounder. But, I mean, we really don't get them here very often at all. It was caught trolled on a cedar plug somewhere off of Catalina. You can go to Bloody Decks in the Offshore Fishing Reports forum. There's a small report about it, and you can see the photo there. I didn't get permission to post the photo yet. I messaged the guy but didn't hear back, so I won't be putting the photo in this video. But go to Bloody Decks, or I'm sure it'll be circulating the Southern California internet fishing scene very soon. Pretty crazy though. 220-pound local cow yellowfin. Had real long sickles too, so it's pretty awesome. Be crazy if you ever got those in a big number here. Generally, they're kind of one of. I don't know if they get lost or they move into Bluefin, or I don't know how they get there. That'd be interesting to ask some scientists, but pretty exciting nonetheless. Moving on, talk about swordfish. Not a ton to say this week, except for Dwayne Diego went out and he caught one. It was just a personal trip for him and a buddy, so he caught it. He's hooking it up, but it's just the second charter boat now. Bite Sport Fishing's got him, and Dwayne too. It makes sense. Dwayne's a legend. Of course, if anyone's going to get on him, he is as well. So it gives you another option for next year if you want to book with somebody to do some swordfish. Obviously, Dwayne knows how to do it, as well as Brandon over at Bite Sport Fishing. Both really good operations. You can't go wrong. Oh, moving on from swordfish. I haven't heard a lot about inshore this week. Temps are up, though. There's a good chance there's good inshore fishing. No personal reports. However, the islands are still kicking out yellowtail. Catalina's still got them. I haven't heard too much about Clemente yellows. No one's really been fishing them, but today the outer limits was posted up. They're fishing the lee or the backside of Clemente today, and they were anchored up here all night on the tip of Clemente. So there's a chance the outer limits goes and checks it out. We can listen for a report if you're interested on that. The mainly exciting islands news is the Coronados got looked at again for the first time in a couple weeks, and they were holding yellows. One boat did a 3/4 day trip there and did all right, and one private boater at least went down and checked it out and caught a couple yellows, metered a lot, blue water. So good news, the Coronados will be holding too if people ever get sick of this tuna fishing. The Channel Islands are still kicking out good rockfish and good lingcod fishing when the weather allows people to get out there, so that's always awesome. The rock fishing season will be closing, so you want to get those before the end of the year. As far as surf, there's still Corbina running in the shallows. I mean, temps are up this week as we saw, and I've heard of even some sand crabs being caught again. It was mainly tiny ones and no eggs. This week there was some decent ones, no eggs still, but some soft shells and some bigger size, nice bait size sand crabs. And then there's plenty of other yellowfin croakers, spotfin, stuff like that. So surf fishing still alive. Beautiful week to go to the beach. Keep Diego hitting it while it's still good. Moving on to talk about lobster. Not much to say this week. There was a purple lobster caught. There's a photo of it on Bloody Decks. You can check that out. Pretty interesting. He was curious how rare it was. No one else had seen it. It's probably just a genetic mutation that's, obviously rare, but I don't think it's that crazy or anything. And then the next piece of lobster news is I did see the Bite Sport Fishing is running some twilight trips, 5 to midnight pretty much, out of Fisherman's Landing. When I looked, they only had one on the books and it was full, but they posted it on their Instagram, so gives you another option to go fish with a really quality operation if you want to do a lobster charter. Besides that, of course, you have the Josie Lynn, the Alicia, the Jig Strike, and the Gale Force. So all of those are the boats that you can take lobster charters on. Those are all that I know of, at least. Looking at the weather for the weekend, it looks pretty good. Slide this over so you guys can see it. The only real news is it said some easterly winds gusting to around 20 knots are expected today through Friday morning near the shore at San Mateo Point, the Mexican border. Otherwise, it looks really good. So could be some offshore really strong winds right around the border just today until tomorrow morning. But besides that, the weekend looks really beautiful. Looks like it'll be great weather. You can go to windy. This is the animation for right now through the weekend. And you'll see right here on the border, if you're watching this, not just listening, there's a little bit of that high winds it's saying today coming right off just south of the border. Pretty bad tonight. Some strong winds there tonight, but then it starts to back off. And by Friday day, tomorrow during the day, Saturday, Sunday, it all looks good. A little bit windy out there past Clemente, but nothing too bad at all for the big boats. Saturday looks beautiful. Sunday looks beautiful. The captains have been calling in just beautiful, really nice summer-like weather, flat oceans. It's been glassy, so late October really is a great time to fish. Moving on from weather, we'll just talk about long range briefly. Just more really good Wahoo reports coming in. If you don't follow Kevin Matson on Instagram, follow Kevin Matson. He's on a trip right now, and he posts live photos from the trip. They're doing really, really well on them. Some yellowtail, dorado, yellowfin too, all the usual suspects. But it seems like it's been a really good year for Wahoo, which bodes well. As far as Central and Northern California, there was at least one boat, the New Rayan, went out to target the Chinook salmon again out of Sausalito. They had 10 anglers on a full day and landed 16 up to 25 pounds. That's cool. It's been quiet on that front the past couple weeks, so it's good to see one boat still targeting them. The salmon season does end up there on the 31st, so you only have one more week to go get them. After that, though, as they swim up the rivers, you can target them on the rivers, and we'll talk about that a little bit in freshwater. Besides that, there's some stripers caught in the Delta, some halibut in the SF Bay. It's pretty decent. One boat was averaging more than one in an angler. And then the rock fishing, still good. Lingcod's still good. Haven't heard any more news on the albacore front, but again, weather windows up there are rare to get out there and check it out. Everyone's gearing up for crab season to start soon too, so that'll be exciting. More news on that when that starts, I believe in early November, November 2nd or November 4th. On to freshwater. Still just plenty of good reports from the Eastern Sierras, the trout fishing, Crowley, Gull, Mary. There was one real pretty fish caught out of Gull Lake, I believe, a big cutthroat, 7-pounder. See if I can find that photo here. It slid off the main page, but check out NorCal Fish Reports. You get all the reports from up there. Everyone's doing really good up there. It sounds like big rainbows, cutthroats, browns being caught. Great time of year to be up there as well. That season shuts down in November 15th. Most of those lakes you can't fish anymore. I believe parts of the Owens stay open, but you really are on your last month to get up there and enjoy that before the snow sets in. Besides that, the rivers up in Northern California, the Klamath, Trinity, good steelhead fishing. They're reporting good king fishing, so you have that option for the next couple of months as well. They say it's really starting to be a good time. November, December, some of the best times for that. So if the weather allows, you got plenty of time to get on the freshwater stuff up there. Other thing I want to talk about freshwater is the Imperial Valley. Imperial Valley is inland from the San Diego Mountains down here on the Mexican border above north of Mexicali. And it's a real dry area, but it's got a ton of these irrigation canals and small reservoirs and ponds and stuff. And you can fish them, and it's got a crazy amount of species. If you go to SD Fish, there's the guy named Worthless or Coach, and he always goes out there, and it's really interesting. He just went out this week. They got 7 species: largemouth, smallmouth, bluegill, red ear, carp, channel cats, and tilapia. He goes and catches little panfish to use for bait for the other ones. He keeps a bunch of them, as you can see if you're watching this, to eat. You know, people don't eat catfish. They're freaking delicious. Panfish are delicious. Even bass are really good if they come from nice, clean water. Obviously, you don't want to take the big ones. Catch and release is nice for the big fish, but a lot of our fisheries, the growth is actually getting stunted because people are releasing everything, even the small keepers, and you're not getting the size we used to get as the population gets too big. There's not the food to support the really big fish. So I find the Imperial Valley stuff really fascinating because I never thought of it as a fishery. And Worthless, I'm going to have on for the next interview. I'm going to talk to him soon. So look for that coming up next week. You can hear all about the IV, how to do it, where to go, species, and all of that. Look forward to that for the next FishLife interview next week. Lastly, the events. Not a ton of events, but the main one is the Fisherman's Landing Tackle Day. It's November 4th, and they just put up a sheet with the people doing the presentations. I know Brandon Hayward's doing one from Bite Sport Fishing. Starting to load up the page here because I had to close it. But there's a bunch of really good seminars you can go and see. Plus, there's good deals. Go check it out. Fisherman's Landing Tackle Day on the November 4th. When it loads here, I'll read to you all the presentations that are going to be happening. Here we go. We got Brandon Hayward on the main stage, 9:30, doing a presentation on kite fishing for giant bluefin. Frank Lopreste of the Royal Polaris owner, doing a presentation on long-range fishing in Guadalupe Island. Bill Kavanaugh from the Intrepid doing a presentation on wahoo fishing. You have Tommy Gomez doing a SD Bay Tactics seminar. There's the ProMar Pro staff doing a seminar on hoop netting for big bugs. Justin Poe from Accurate doing big fish and proper tackle seminar. Taro from the Liberty doing local tuna tactics seminar. And Fisherman Processing doing a seminar on care and fillet preparation of your catch, with one more to be announced. So that's the main one coming up. And besides that, look for the Alpine Buoy Fishing Team, which I believe is the first Sunday of the month, but it won't be before next week, so I'll mention that one next week. All right, that's it for these weeks. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep them nice and short, succinct listens, so you can turn them on, get through it in 15, 20 minutes. Check out the interview I did with Nikki. I really hope you enjoy it, and I'll talk to you guys next week.